credit, and that specialist was asking us if our board was aware of our adulthood program, and if the board was aware of the credits that were being granted to students, just to make sure that we had LEA approval of what we're doing. And initially, there was some discussion from the specialist saying that we need to have a policy. When I asked the specialist, well, where does it say we have to have a policy? We don't just write policies because it becomes a problem if we write a policy for every little thing. And the specialist admitted, well, there's no requirement to have a policy, but she just wanted to make sure that our board was aware of our adult program and what we were doing. And so I'll turn it over to Andrea. And there was nothing nefarious about what the board was doing. She just wanted us to make sure, well, as long as we don't have a policy about adult ed, which we have talked about perhaps writing in time. But Andrea wanted to take a minute tonight and just explain the program and explain a little bit about the curriculum.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay? Great. Thank you for the time for tonight, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to serve as the principal of adult education. I love the staff and the students, and it's a big honor. So policy in the past has been, for adult education, you have to register with the NRS, which is a federal test mandate for all adult education programs, where they measure college and career readiness. And they do basically a diagnostic test, and it's called TAPE, and it tests in 3 areas, which is reading, language arts, and math. And those tests are core aligned, like I said, to college and career standards, so I know what subject matters are covering, if it's equivalent to a secondary Math 1 course, Math 2, etc. And so what has happened in the past is most of our students, they come to us with a lot of lagging skills, and in fact, 74% of our students come to us below a 5th grade level in all of those areas. And so our job is to meet that deficit and bring them up so they can meet all the college and career standards and the graduation requirements by the state. So presently, if they score a 5 or 6 on that TAPE test, that is the equivalent of a 10th, 11th, and 12th grade math or English language arts. It's a small percentage of our students that come to us that high. I think it's like 3% come that high already. But if the student can earn and show mastery in content, they have been able to earn a credit in math or language arts depending on what mastery they're showing on the skill level. It's been a great benefit for our students, a motivational tool for the students, and that's what's been going on. And we're always trying to improve curriculum and move to content mastery and skills so we can help students get on and get an education, become a productive member of our community, and move on to further education opportunities. So that's kind of a really brief summary. Do you guys have any questions that I could answer for you? Or
Lord, I just want to tell you that Andrea is doing a remarkable job in this area. We have a number of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds also who are in our adult education program. And certainly we have those throughout the community. Some of you may remember that about 8 years ago, Ogden School District decided to drop their adult education program, and Weber picked it up. And I just believe that that's something that is so important in a community, that the public school district has that kind of an opportunity, that if somebody fails to be able to receive a high school diploma with their graduating class, that later in life, when circumstances permit, that they're able to come back. Not only does it make a difference in their lives, most of those individuals who are coming back have children who are attending our schools, and it makes a difference to those children as well. So, Andrea, we appreciate your leadership in the adult education program. You're doing tremendous work, and it's making a difference in the lives of those individuals in our community as well. So, again, to reiterate what Heidi said, that there is no legal requirement that the board has to have a policy related to adult ed. Certainly, our adult ed program adheres to all of the requirements outlined in law as it relates to college and career readiness, graduation standards, those kinds of things. But this was an awareness piece, and Heidi and Andrea, thank you for bringing that to us. President, if I could also would like to introduce Mayor Mark Allen from Washington Terrace, City Manager Tom Hansen, and Randy Sant, who's been working with Washington Terrace City. I love our partnerships with these different agencies, entities, and the partnership between Washington Terrace City and Weaver School District goes back many, many years. And it's a great partnership. Washington Terrace is a great partner and friend to Weaver School District. They have a proposal for some redevelopment in which they would like us to participate in that redevelopment as per our tax increment guidelines that our board outlined. They have been meeting with the tax increment funding subcommittee, which comprises myself, President John Ritchie, board member Doug Hurst, and business administrator Robert Peterson. And they have brought their proposal in line with the guidelines that were outlined by this board. And so they would like to present their proposal. If there are questions and concerns, certainly this is a time to raise those. You'll notice that this is part of our study session. It's not an action item, but if everything went well, then perhaps as early as next month in our March board meeting, we'd be able to enter into an interlocal agreement. Now, do you want them to have that mic?
Tom, you can take that out. You can take it out if you don't want to stand.
I didn't mean
Do they need, Trent and Mark, do they need the mic or will this pick it up?
It won't pick it up.
Okay, so
I think we're good.
I'm going to turn it to Mayor, you, Tom, Randy, however you want to
I'm going to turn it to Tom, and you kind of gave the whole introduction. So,
You know, Dr. Stevens, I rarely get anybody to give us that warm of an introduction, so I think probably my work is over here, right?
yeah.
We're not cousins, but we ought to be. You know, thank you for letting us meet with you tonight. We do appreciate our relationship with all of you. Mayor Allen and I have been working with the developer actually for several years in the city, and have a project that is going to change the skyline and the very nature as far as capacity to serve our residents, our students, and our whole southern, or our whole Weaver County, if you will, and even northern Davis County. We work together with Davis County, but for this kind of a project, we're just super excited to get with you. Again, Mayor Allen here, and we have had an opportunity to meet with you about 5 or 6 years ago, to extend the RDA that we have down in this southeast business area. And interestingly enough, this year we actually met the goal that we set with you 5 years ago, that we were anticipating meeting by 2025. So we have been putting to work those resources that you've entrusted with us to bring about that response that you expect, if not for the RDA. And so you might notice that we helped with the 4-story medical plaza over there by infrastructure, redoing that road. You probably remember that being redone a few years ago. and some things of that nature. So we've been trying to be good stewards with the funds that you've entrusted with us on that extension. No, we're not coming back for another extension. I'm not going to steal any of Randy's thunder because he's got a good presentation here, but we're excited about the upside of what this looks like and how this is going to play out. Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
Just happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Randy, can I turn it over to you?
We're excited about this project, so.
Thank you very much. We want to make this quick. We know you have a busy agenda, and so I've given you a handout that kind of talks through the main points of this project that we're proposing. First, the location of this project is just right over here where the RV storage area is at. So it's just to the north of the existing City Hall and to the west of the Maverick. So that's where we're talking about this. This project area that we're talking about is a very small project area. It's 7 acres and it has 1 property owner. So it's not a very big project area, but it's going to have a tremendous impact on both the city and hopefully as we move forward, the taxing districts will benefit greatly from what we're proposing. So first of all, I kind of broke this up into points. Tell you a little bit about the project that we're proposing is what we're proposing to put on that property are 2 94,000 square foot Class A office buildings. One of these buildings will be a office for an existing great corporate citizen that is currently in the county that will occupy at least one of those buildings. And then the other building, they plan on to move in at a later date, but we're hoping that we'll be able to recruit some great corporate offices into Weber County, and they would occupy that building for a period of time. So that's what the project is being proposed. We anticipate that we will start construction on this in 2022. Actually, they'll probably start construction later this year because the road has got to be moved and there's some infrastructure that they have to do before they build the building. Right now, they're in the final phases of getting their architectural drawings done. We're hoping that maybe even by the time we come back with an interlocal agreement, we might be able to share with you some of that information. Basically, what we're talking about, as far as what I think is the most important thing, is what is going to be the assessed value and what's going to be the benefit that comes from this project. When these 2 buildings are completed, we anticipate that the assessed value will be $47 million. That will generate an annual property tax of $425,000 a year, of which the school district portion, using your current certified tax rate, is about $200,000 a year. Now, in comparison, that property today has a $1.5 million value, and you're getting $9,000 in property tax. So the significant difference of this is that you're going to see a significant increase from $9,000 to $208,000. What we're asking the taxing districts to do, and again, we're trying to follow your guidelines, and we really appreciate the guidance that was given to us by your subcommittee. They were very, very instrumental in us formulating this budget. But we're asking for 50% of the tax increment, which means 50% goes to the development and 50% remains with the school district. And we're asking for that for 16 years. That's a little bit outside of your 12-year guideline, but we feel, given the fact that we're building a Class A office, which does not exist within this county, and we believe that the client that we're working with is a great partner, we have asked for at least 4 more years, and we believe that works. The total cap, which would be the total increment that's collected out of this project area, would be $3,475,000, of which the school district's participation would be a total over that 16 years at 50%, $1,666,000, or $104,125. So basically what we're saying is there's $208,000 generated out of this project from the school district. We're asking you to give us, as the development, $104,000, and you keep $104,000. And if you compare that today, you're getting $9,000. So I think that's why this is a pretty good project. What we're asking for the use of the funds is, we again, looking at your guidelines, almost 100% of this money is going for infrastructure improvements. We have both on and off-site improvements, and those infrastructure improvements are roads, sewer lines, water lines, storm drains, site preparation. We have some demolition of buildings we need to do, but we are asking for almost all of that. And I think an important thing to bring out here is that when we did the gap analysis, and again, what we try to look at is what is the gap between what a lender would make and what would be the difference, and then we participate on that gap. And usually what we try to look for is if we can do a 70-30, somewhere around there. Well, in this case, we're doing a 50-50. We're asking the taxing districts to participate on 50% of that gap, which is the infrastructure. And then the developer is covering the other 50% gap, which is the land. So we're coming to the taxing districts and asking for participation on the infrastructure and the infrastructure only. We will ask for a 3% administrative fee, which meets your guidelines. And then we have the requirement under state law that we have to collect 10% for affordable housing. The goal will be that will be going to Washington Terrace City, and that can be used anywhere in their city to help with affordable housing. It will not go back into this project because this project isn't building any housing, it's building office. I broke out those infrastructure costs a little bit for you on both off-site and on-site, and broke those out in categories. I think the most important thing is how does this proposal meet your guidelines? Well, first of all, I think it's a very good proposal, but it's Class A office. And what Class A office will do, not only will it keep this company in Weber County, its corporate offices in Weber County, but in most cases, when you go out and market Class A office space, you're bringing in some pretty high-paid jobs. And so these other companies that are recruited will probably be paying a fairly good salary for those jobs when they come in, which I think is a benefit to everybody. So I think that meets that idea that it's a pretty good use. It's not manufacturing, which is your number one, but I think office is very close to that. We have put a cap on that. Your participation, again, is the $1,666,000 that we've outlined in there. It's at 50%. We're starting the construction within your 2-year period of time. That's in your guidelines. The administrative fee is at 3%. We have one property owner, a very small project area that starts immediately, which I think meets your guideline. The gap required for the participation was $7 million, and we're requesting public participation at 50% of that gap. So we've split the gap between the developer and the taxing entities. I believe that when we're able to announce, go public with this, I think you'll find that this is a very good corporate tenant that has worked very well with you over the years. And so we believe it meets your proposal of being able to be a good partner for education. And again, the project provides Class A office market space, which is not in this Weber County market. It's not a sales tax development. And last, it's not a housing project, and there would be very limited impact on the services that you as a district need to provide to any students, and because there are none. So that kind of sums up what we wanted to present to you this evening. I'm happy, or Tom or the mayor, to answer any specific questions you have. Our goal would be that if you find this to be acceptable, we would proceed to put together the required interlocal agreement, and that would outline these terms and conditions, plus anything else that you might have. And then we again would bring that back for your favorable consideration at a future meeting.
Please.
Bruce, please.
I may have missed that later, but did you indicate when this project would be finished?
It will start in 2022, and it'll take about 18 months to complete that first building. So we hope it will be on the tax rolls in 2024.
Okay, thank you.
What about anybody else?
When did the second,
You said it in the second
the
building.
first building?
Right, the first building. We anticipate the second building, at least in the budget, the way we projected that, would be that the second building would start in about 2020, would be starting about 2026, 2025, and be on the tax rolls about 2027. Now, that can accelerate, simply because, as I mentioned, there's no Class A office building here, and that's one of the things that I know the Northern Utah Economic Development Group is working on, is to try to recruit new corporate offices, new businesses from outside of the state into the state. So if we're successful in finding that, we could accelerate that building much quicker than that anticipated date. But in the budget, we show that budget coming, we show that second building coming on in about 5 years from now.
Randy? Oh, I'm sorry. What's the criteria to make it Class A?
Basically, the Class A is it's going to meet LEEDs, it's going to have high quality product, and it's really the rent. A Class A office building is usually leased between $22 to $27 per foot. So it's a very high quality office building. That is what you need to bring in a high quality corporate tenant.
Randy, while you're on that, if you would please, with the teleworking that's going on in the community right now, your homework's been done on the potential future of not only building 1, but building 2. Would you just elaborate for a minute on that, filling those spaces?
Yeah, I think that what we're going to see is that for the next maybe year or so, there might be some issue about this, everybody trying to work at home. But what we're really seeing is that in the economic development market, there are a lot of companies, high-tech companies in the California area that don't want to be in California anymore. And so I know the state has been making quite a push through the Utah Economic Development Corporation and others to go out there and market to bring those companies in. Again, we feel very comfortable that eventually this corporation may fill into that space, but they want to do other phases around that area too, which I didn't want to get into because we're only talking about this,
Right.
but I think there's more opportunity there. But we really believe that they will have a 5 to 7, maybe even an 8-year period of time that they can lease out a building before they grow in it. So we feel very, very confident that this will be pretty much full 100% occupied buildings by the time they're constructed.
Thank you, that's what I need. Superintendent?
Well, the main thing is if the board has any questions. But I want to compliment Washington Terrace City. As you look on that second page, they have been so tremendous to make sure that their proposal aligns with the guidelines board that you established. And Randy, thanks for just almost ticking those boxes off. You've done that, and I want to compliment them. The area that Randy and Tom and the mayor have described is in that project area. I've lived in Washington Terrace City for 60 years, and that land is just not going to develop. And that's one of the first criteria for participation in a project like this. Would this project, with this area, is it likely to develop on its own without any incentive? And the answer is no, it's just not. And so to be able to bring a long-term corporate partner in, and it's something that will be a benefit to certainly Washington Terrace, but I believe also the Weaver School District as well. So I compliment you, Washington Terrace officials, for the work that you've done on this.
Anybody from the board like to make a comment? Janice, I know you're listening in Hawaii. Do you have anything?
No, I really appreciate the thorough presentation. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can.
Aloha. Okay, thank you.
I would say at this point, if you're ready, next month, Randy, are you thinking that you will prepare a draft interlocal agreement, and then Heidi would have you review it? Do you want to prepare the draft?
Yes, we'll prepare the draft, and we'll probably follow a similar draft that you've seen many, many times as a school district. So I don't think it'll be any doubt there, and it will actually contain these terms: 50%, 16 years, with the cap that we've outlined for you today, and we'll get that ready and have that ready in maybe a couple of weeks. Submit that to your legal counsel.
And then, Mayor, when are you thinking to run it through your council?
That will be, we discussed that in length last night. Randy was at our council meeting last night.
We'll bring it back on the first meeting in March, and we'll do all that, right?
When do you meet?
March 2nd, first
The day
day.
before us.
Yeah, it'll be the day before you.
So tentatively, what we'll work toward is that your council would approve this on Tuesday, March
Tuesday.
2nd.
Right.
And then we would have it as an action item on our
Okay.
March 3rd board meeting.
Perfect,
We have a
perfect. And then we will, so then by I think the 25th of March, we should have all
Yeah, if we
entities
could,
with.
if we could get a draft before that so we can review it through our legal counsel and so forth, that'd be helpful. So if you can even get it, you know,
Up to 2 weeks.
that would be great. That would be
We'll get
great.
it. Randy will get it to you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Makes me look good. I mean, it's like, I mean, this is not new to Tom and I, but to have Randy doing all this and hitting all these high points, this is, you know, we got to thank him for joining us on this. This is really helped.
Very, very well planned.
But this is going to be
Very
exciting.
well
We're so
planned.
excited about this. We're so excited about the corporation and, you know, that group. And I think you know who it is. But yeah, it's so cool. It just to keep them in Weber County. Awesome. They are very excited. So
Absolutely.
but thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Randy. Job well done. Tom, thank you.
Thank you very
We're
much.
excited as well, so it'll be a plus for both of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything else?
You know, President, probably the only thing I could add to it is maybe just give the board an update on our vaccination programs. As you probably know, the Weber Morgan Health Department contracted with community nursing services to handle vaccinations in Weber School District, Ogden School District, and Morgan School District. Kathy Wright from Community Nursing Services has been the lead person, and they have been tremendous to work with. We identified, working with Community Nursing Services, 3 sites within our school district, tried to spread those around geographically. We avoided the high school because sometimes there's some other events taking place at the high school that would make mass vaccination more difficult. So we selected Walquist Junior High, Rocky Mountain Junior High, and South Ogden Junior High School. Our assigned day has been Thursday, and so we haven't had, you know, flexibility with that. Community Nursing Services is working with, you know, providing vaccinations across the county, and so they're the ones that determine Thursday night. We have vaccinated, as of tomorrow, approximately 3,100 of our employees. The demand is starting to come down. I'd say the first 2,000 that we opened up were filled almost immediately. So that demand was very high. Last week, we were allocated 800 vaccines, and we only filled 700. So I had communicated with Kathy Wright ahead of time, and they withheld some of those vials, so no vaccines went to waste. You know, just to give you an idea of how kind of a tight time frame they're under as it relates to these vaccines, there's a fairly complex process to thaw each vial. A vial contains enough vaccine for 10 doses. Once a vial is thawed, they have 12 hours to administer the vaccines in that vial. Once a vial is punctured with its first needle, they have 6 hours to administer the other 9. So, you know, it puts it, you can't thaw a vial and then say, you know, we're going to use it tomorrow night. That doesn't work. So Kathy Wright and I have been in constant communication as it leads up to each of these Thursday nights.
Jeff, is that timeline the same for Pfizer and Moderna?
We have not had any Pfizer vaccines. And I think the primary reason why the Pfizer vaccine has to be frozen at such a low temperature, 94 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. And I don't think there are many refrigerators currently in northern Utah that have that capacity. My understanding is Weber State is supposed to be getting some of those. And once some of those refrigerator units are available, then I think, we'll start in our county, in northern Utah, we'll start getting more Pfizer vaccines.
That'd be harder in rural areas.
It will be. It will be. Yeah, it certainly challenges where they can put that, deliver that, distribute that Pfizer vaccine to. So all of ours have been Moderna vaccines. The other thing I want to just mention, the principals and their teams at those 3 junior high schools have been phenomenal. If you go to any of those 3 sites on a Thursday evening, it is as well organized as anything I've ever seen. It's not uncommon to watch on the news and see some of these vaccine sites that are not well organized, and these are so highly organized, and that's a tribute to these principals and the teams that they've organized to help put this together, and that is a tremendous service to our schools. The demand has definitely come down. This week we were allocated 918 vaccines. I just looked before we came into this meeting, and we've got 254 who've signed up for tomorrow. I've already talked to Kathy Wright and told her that we're going to release at least 500 vaccines for tomorrow night so they can be redistributed somewhere else. And we may need to redistribute even more than that. I'll call her later this evening and let her know exactly where we are. But what it's showing me is that the demand in our school district is going down. I've had a number of requests to bring other people in, and unfortunately, that's not the direction from the governor and the state health department. They have been very strict with us about who can receive the vaccine, and it's educators and school staff. So unfortunately, I know I've got an 87-year-old mother that I wish I could get in, but these vaccines are only for teachers and school staff members. So anyway, I don't know if you have any questions on this.
What percent of our employees are in vaccinated?
We have approximately 4,700 employees. Now, know that some of those are 18 and 19-year-old part-time custodians, and they might not have as strong a desire to get a vaccine. When Art Hansen had done a survey in December, and it showed approximately 80 to 83% indicating that they wanted a vaccine. Everybody didn't reply to that survey. About 3,700 replied to that survey. But quite frankly, Doug, I was expecting that we would have closer to 4,000 employees who received the vaccine. We're not mandating it. We haven't, made any statement that suggests that we're expecting it. We've let it be a personal choice. So right now we have about 31, after tomorrow, we will have had about 3,100 out of about 4,700.
Superintendent. that 4,700 includes our substitute pool, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And many of our substitutes have been receiving the vaccine. Larry Hadley got information out to them, and many of them have signed up for that, and that's appropriate. That also has included our seminary teachers. They're with our students every single day, and so that was a request that was made. I checked with the health department just to make sure, and I felt like that was the appropriate thing to do. But I know as I visited those sites, I've seen some of the seminary teachers there as well. That's approved. That's as it should.
Thank you, Superintendent. Board, I don't know if you have, do we have anything else before we break for 6 minutes? All right, we'll see you back in 6 minutes.
So